Okay, so the next two lessons are just to get you ready for the quiz. It won't count as a test, it'll just be a quiz because it's just these four sections. 10.1 and 10.2. So all of these here, you're comparing them to the parent function. So this one is going to have moved right 4. This one goes left 9, but also down 4. Number 3 goes right 5 and up 3. These are cubed root functions. This one is going to move right 8. This one, it's outside, so it's going to go down 1. This one will go left 8 and also down 3. All right, so when you start these, you think about the parent function. For square root, it looks like this, but it's moved up 3. That means the first point is going to be right here. So if you were to make a table of values, I definitely think an x of 0 is good because the square root of 0 is 0 and 0 plus 3 is 3. Okay, now I'm taking the square root. Square root of 1 is very easy. It's 1, and then 1 plus 3 is 4. So I have a point here. Let's see, the square root of 4 is easy to do. That's a 2. And then 2 plus 3 is 5. So there you go. All right, so this next one, it should go left 1 and down 2. That's where it should start. So let's see. If I let an x be -1, -1 plus 1 is 0. The square root of 0 is 0, and 0 minus 2 is -2. Now, if I put a 0 in here, it's still an easy point because 0 plus 1 is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. Subtract 2, and I get -1. Now, let's think of what another easy point is. If I put a 2 in here, that's the square root of 3. That's not going to be easy to do, but now a 3 would be easy. If I were to put in a 3, 3 plus 1 is 4. The square root of 4 would be a 2, and then 2 minus 2 is 0. And that's probably enough. You can definitely put some more points if you want to get a little more accurate. Make sure you're not trying to draw these as lines. They're not linear. Okay, so this graph would have moved right 3 and up 1. So 3 would be a good point to try. 3 minus 3 is 0. The square root of 0 plus 1 gives you a point of 3, 1. Okay, if I were to pick something else, a 4 maybe. 4 minus 3 is 1. Well, the square root of 1 is 1 plus 1 is 2. That's a decent point. But look, if I were to do 6, 6 minus 3 is 3. That's not easy to square root. But if I were to pick a 7, 7 minus 3, well, that's 4, and the square root of 4 is 2 plus 1. Now, you know what? You can be doing these on the calculator and getting those yucky points. That's fine. Notice that you don't want to pick anything smaller than 3, though, because that's going to give you a negative, and it's undefined, because the equation only exists there. Okay, the next group are the cubed root. Remember what the cube roots look like? Remember? Kind of an SE shape, snaky looking shape. This one has moved down 2, so it should be crossing here. If I use a 0, that would be a 0 minus 2. It worked. Okay. I want to, with the S, should kind of pick something on either side of it. If I picked a 1, well, the cubed root of 1 is 1, and 1 minus 2 is 1. So that worked out pretty good. What about if I go the other direction and do a -1? Well, the cubed root of -1 is -1 minus 2. Oop, I got a mistake here. That's going to give me a -3. Let's go back over here. 1 minus 2 would have been a -1. this is not good. Let me go in and get my graph updated. So I have a 0, -2. I have a +1, -1, and a -1 with a -3. Now, I might be tempted to draw a straight line, which is why in this case, I need a couple more points. Remember, something that's the cubed root it's easy to take is of 8. So if I pick an 8 and a -8, well, the cubed root of 8 is 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. The cubed root of -8 would be -2 minus 2 is -4. Now, while I don't have the 8 and the -8 on my graph, I can tell that this part of my little snake, he's going to go way out this direction to the 8, where the -8, it's going to go to the -4. So it's going to be coming down this way. Okay, so on the 8, I'm at the 0, and on the -8, I'm at the -4. All right, this time it's going to have moved left 6, so I should be starting here. If it's a -6 plus 6, 0. The square root of 0 is 0. Now, is it going to be a snake? Hopefully you said no. What's missing? Correct. There's no cubed root here. This is just square root. Square root. Think about what the square root is going to look like. Like these. Okay. So I've got this one. Pick something else. You know what? I'm going to pick some not necessarily nice ones this time. I'm going to pick a -4, a -2, and a 0. Let's just do those. So if I have a -4 plus 6, that's 2. This would be the square root of 2. If I have a -2 plus 6, that's a 4, the square root of 4. If I have 0 plus 6, I have the square root of 6. Well, this one's easy. That's a 2. The others I'm going to need to use my calculator. The square root of 2 is 1.41 approximately, and the square root of 6 is about 2.45 approximately. Can you see why I was trying to pick nicer numbers to graph? It's not necessary though. You can use the ugly numbers, especially since you have a calculator. So -4 is going to be about 1.41. -2 is going to be about 2, and 0 is about 2.45. Okay, what about number 12? Is it going to look like this? Hopefully you said no, right? It has the cubed root in it. That's going to be one of the little snakes. And it has moved right 1 and up 2, so it's probably going to start right there. So let's pick it with 1. If it's 1, minus 1 is 0. Cubed root of 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay, now the snake is going to exist on either side. Let's try the 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. The cubed root of 1 plus 2 is a 3. So let's go this direction. If I have a 0, 0 minus 1 is -1. The cubed root of -1 is -1 plus 2 is 1. Again, don't be tempted to draw a straight line. We know this is going to be a little snake-looking shape. Let's pick a couple of other points. Maybe I'll skip over to the 4 and then maybe skip over to the -2. Let's see what happens. 4 minus 1 is 3, so I have the cubed root of 3 added to 2. So, looking at the calculator, remember that's the math. Cubed root of 3, parentheses, add 2, and I get about 3.44. Okay, let's do the -2. -2 minus 1 is -3. the cubed root of negative 3 plus 2. It's going to be the exact same problem, only negative. So I need to use my math. Cubed root, negative 3, and then plus 2. I did negative 3 because negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Okay, that's about a 0.56. All right, let's get those 2 points to see if it fits our little curve better. So on the 4, you need to go up to 3.44. On the negative 2, you're at about 0.56. So you are definitely getting more of a snake type shape. All right, let us go on. Let's use some of this information. On 3, here's the distance in miles to the horizon, and A is the altitude where you're standing. So if you're standing at 150 feet, that's the A. The distance would be the square root of 1.5 times 150. So I need the square root of 225, and you should know that one without a calculator. That's one of our common ones. 15. Okay. Now, this time they're giving you the distance is 30, and you're wanting to figure out the altitude. You're looking for the A. Do you remember how to get the opposite of a square root? Hopefully you said square. 30 squared would be 900, and 1.5a square root times itself turns out to be 1.5a. Now it's a simple matter of division, and your altitude is 600. Okay, number 4, you have a cube. Can you think about a cube as maybe being a dice? And you're redesigning it to make it hold more. This models the new one, the big one. Okay, it can increase by a maximum of 100. So you want to figure out what the maximum edge of the larger cube can be. Well, remember, this is the larger one. It's increased by 100. So this would be 164. That's the capacity of the larger one. The edge, remember, all the sides are the same. So something times something times something, that's 164. Well, it's this cubed, or you go backwards and take the cubed root. So let's go to our calculator and calculate the cubed root of 164. And about 5.5 inches is the maximum that the new cube can be. All right, here's 4 review questions from topic 6, definitely going to be on your quiz. Let's go through these quickly. You want the exponential function, so you need to look at what's going on every time. Notice you're multiplying by 2, 1 times 2, 2 times 2, etc. So your function, remember, it's the initial value and then the exponent of x by what you're multiplying by. Now, 16 and 17 are not the same problem. One is a rate and one has got the factor. For the function, it is the initial value. The rate increased by 11%. So you have the 100% plus the 11%, 1.11 to the x. 17, it's already done that part. It's given you the factor. So you're still going to have your initial of 250 and then 1.15 to the x. Okay, here we have an investment and wanting to figure out how much it's going to be worth. The amount that it's going to be worth is the $12,000 that you invested, 1 plus the interest rate, 0.05 is 5%, the number of times it pays in a year, 2, and then the exponent is that number of times it pays out times the number of years you planned to invest. So 12,000. And then 1 plus 0.05 divided by 2 to the 20th power is what you should enter into the calculator. $12,000, parentheses, 1 plus 0.05 divided by 2. Be sure to close your parentheses before you raise it to the 20th power. And that investment is now worth $19,663.40. Okay, next week we'll start off with your review, one more review, and then your quiz. Remember, I'm here if you need any help, and don't forget to attend the Zoom sessions. Miss Myers does an amazing job explaining these things again.